Okay, and on to our reading for today. We are on a new book to match our new month. It's Friday the 1st of May today, and we are reading chapter 2, which is called Strange Meetings. I was still deciding which direction to take when I heard a voice from behind me. "Who are you? What do you want?" I turned. "Who are you?" she asked again. The old lady who stood before me was no bigger than I was. She scrutinised me from under the shadow of her dripping straw hat. She had piercing dark eyes that I did not want to look into. "I didn't think it would rain," she said, her voice gentler. "Lost, are you?" I said nothing. She had a dog on a leash at her side, a big dog. There was an ominous growl in his throat, and his hackles were up all along his back. She smiled. "The dog says you're on private property," she went on, pointing her stick at me accusingly. She edged aside my raincoat with the end of her stick. "Run away from that school, did you? Well, if it's anything like it used to be, I can't say I blame you. But we can't just stand here in the rain, can we? You'd better come inside. We'll give him some tea, shall we, Jack? Don't you worry about Jack. He's all bark and no bite." Looking at Jack, I found that hard to believe. I don't know why, but I never for one moment thought of running off. I often wondered later why I went with her so readily. I think it was because she expected me to, willed me to somehow. I followed the old lady and her dog up to the house, which was huge as my school. It looked as if it had grown out of the ground. There was hardly a brick or a stone or a tile to be seen. The entire building was smothered in red creeper, and there were a dozen ivy-clad chimneys sprouting skywards from the roof. We sat down close to the stove in a vast vaulted kitchen. "The kitchen's always the warmest place," she said, opening the oven door. "We'll have you dry in no time. Scones?" she went on, bending down with some difficulty and reaching inside. I always have scones on a Sunday, and tea to wash it down. "All right for you?" She went on, chatting away as she busied herself with the kettle and the teapot. The dog eyed me all the while from his basket, unblinking. "I was just thinking," she said, "you'll be the first young man I've had inside this house since Bertie." She was silent for a while. The smell of the scones wafted through the kitchen. I ate 3 before I even touched my tea. They were sweet, crumbly, and succulent with melting butter. She talked on merrily again to me, to the dog, I wasn't sure which. I wasn't really listening. I was looking out of the window behind her. The sun was bursting through the clouds and lighting the hillside. A perfect rainbow arched through the sky. But miraculous though it wasn't the rainbow that fascinated me. Somehow the clouds were casting a strange shadow over the hillside, a shadow the shape of a lion, roaring like the one over the archway. "Sun's come out," said the old lady, offering me another scone. I took it eagerly. "Always does, you know. It may be difficult to remember sometimes, but there's always sun behind the clouds, and the clouds do go in the end. Honestly." She watched me eat, and a smile on her face that warmed me to the bone. "Don't think I want you to go, because I don't. Nice to see a boy eat so well. Nice to have the company. But all the same, I'd better get you back to your school after you've had your tea, hadn't I? You'll only be in trouble otherwise. Mustn't run off, you know. You've got to stick it out, see things through. Do what's got to be done no matter what." She was looking out of the window as she spoke. My Bertie taught me that, bless him. Or maybe I taught him. I can't remember. And she went on talking and talking, but my mind was elsewhere again. The lion on the hillside was still there, but now he was blue and shimmering in the sunlight. It was as if he were breathing, as if he were alive. It wasn't a shadow any more. No shadow is blue. "No, you're not seeing things," the old lady whispered. "It's not magic. He's real enough. He's our lion. Bertie's and mine. He's our butterfly lion." "What do you mean?" I asked. She looked at me long and hard. "I'll tell you if you like," she said. "Would you like to know? Would you really like to know?" I nodded. Have another scone first and another cup of tea. Then I'll take you to Africa, where our lion came from. Where my Bertie came from too. Bit of a story I can tell you. Have you ever been to Africa? No, I replied. Well, you're going, she said. We're both going. Suddenly, I wasn't hungry anymore. All I wanted now was to hear her story. She sat back in her chair, gazing out of the window. She told it slowly, thinking before each sentence, and all the while she never took her eyes off the butterfly lion. And neither did I. Okay, so that's chapter 1. 5 quick fire round questions are: what do you think the word ominous means on page 10? Question 2, who is Jack? How do we know this? Question 3, can you describe the house in one sentence? Use the pages 10 and 12 to help. Question 4, write 3 adjectives used to describe the scones. And question 5, the boy describes the lion on the hillside as blue and shimmering. Can you remember what other animal he described like this earlier in the book? See if you can remember that. You would have read that yesterday. Stems. Pause it while you have a go. Okay, your answers. I think the word ominous means threatening or warning. Okay, so it was Jack the dog who had an ominous growl in his throat. Meant that he perhaps came across as a little bit threatening, or he was warning the boy away from the old lady. Who knows? Who is Jack, and how do we know? Jack is the old lady's dog. We know this because she talks to him, calling him Jack, and tells the young boy he is all bark and no bite. Okay. Can you describe the house in one sentence? That is completely up to you. Okay, but you should have used the ideas from page 10 and page 12 to help you with that. Okay, so we'll look forward to seeing those. Right, the 3 adjectives used to describe the scones. We've got sweet, crumbly and succulent. And then the boy describes the lion. He described the butterfly lion as blue and shimmering earlier in the book on page 4. He describes the lion this time, not the butterfly lion. Question 6. Can you write a physical description of the old lady using what we're told about her in this chapter? You can use page 9 and 10 to help you. Okay, you do this in your own words, but read through your work to check it makes sense. Question 7. When the old lady said, it may be difficult to remember sometimes, but there's always sun behind the clouds, and the clouds do go in the end, honestly, on page 14. Do you think she's just talking about the weather? What else might she be talking about? Okay, and question 8, using your prediction skills, who do you think Bertie might be? Okay, pause this video and have a go. Okay, writing a physical description of the old lady. There's no right and wrong answer again because it's what you're writing, it's your ideas. But there are some bits in the text that we can pick out quite easily that you could incorporate and use for your answer. So, what do we know? She was old. She was when it says she was no bigger than I was. So we take from that, excuse my writing, that she is quite small, okay? That she's quite small. She scrutinised me from under the shadow of her dripping straw hat. Remember, it's a physical description, so it's something, it's about how she actually looks, okay? So she's wearing a straw hat. We know that. She had piercing dark eyes. I like that. Piercing dark eyes. That's really descriptive. That I did not want to look into. That perhaps gives us the impression that she's a little bit scary. Let's see what else. She had a dog on a leash. Okay, a leash is another word for a lead. And it was a big dog. We've got, oh, we haven't already underlined. She went on pointing her stick at me. So we know she's got a stick. Okay. And I think on those pages, that is all of the physical description that we've got of her. Okay. When the old lady said it may be difficult to remember, here. So starting here and ending here. So we've got that bit there. Do you think it may be difficult to remember sometimes, but there's always sun behind the clouds, and the clouds do go in the end? Do we think she's just talking about the weather? No, you're right. I think she's talking about life as well, okay? Because I think using this, she's also talking about in life, it's difficult to remember sometimes. There's always good things about to happen, okay? So even if you're going through a really bad time in your life, okay, there's always something to look forward to, or better times that are going to come along. And she uses that, she describes that the clouds do go in the end. So sometimes clouds come along, so bad things come along, but they do go in the end, and the sun comes out, so the good things shine through. And she says, honestly. So she's trying to teach him a lesson, I think, here. And relating that back to the book, we know that he doesn't like his school. I think she's saying, stick it out, okay? It might be difficult sometimes at that school, but better times will come, okay? The bad times will go and better times will come. Just stick with it. And then question 8, using your prediction skills, who do you think Bertie might be? Okay. So again, there's no answer for this. When I first read the book, I didn't know, okay? I didn't know who Bertie was. I wasn't sure from what she'd said. So it's really just a stab in the dark, a guess, okay? Who is your gut telling you at this point Bertie might be, okay? Do you think he's a friend? Do you think he's a son? Do you think he's a husband? Do you think he's an animal? Whatever your prediction is, that's absolutely fine. Okay, let's just have a quick look at what she says about Bertie. She said, Bertie's and mine. Okay, so he's our lion. What else do we find out about him? Bertie came from Africa. We know that. And that's all we know, really. We know Bertie came from Africa, and that the lion came from Africa, and that the lion is Bertie and the ladies. We also don't know the name of the lady yet, do we? Maybe we'll find that out tomorrow. Well done, guys, today.
Good morning, year 3. Hope you got on all right yesterday with maths. We are going to start off today again by marking what we did. Okay, so I'm going to get my purple pen. You can mark yours in a different colour so you can see what you've done. Okay, remember guys, if you get stuck or you realise, or even if as you start to mark you think, oh, I've made a mistake, I know what I've done wrong, then just pause it, see if you can quickly, change your answers or rework them out if you realise that there's an error that you've been making, and yeah, then carry on marking it afterwards. That's fine. Okay, number 1, got 4/5, take away 2/5. Now remember, our denominator doesn't change. Okay, we've still got 5 equal parts regardless, and we had 4 of them to begin with. 2 of them are gone, so we've got 2 left, 2/5. 6/7, take away 3/7, or 6 take away 3 is 3. So we're going to have 3 of those 7 equal parts left. 8/8, take away 5/8 is 3/8, because you know that 8 take away 5 is 3. 9 take away what is 6. If you take away 3 from 9, you'll be left with 6/10. Okay, and then here, you could have started with, there's a few different ones you could have done. If you put any of these or all of these, that's perfect. So we could have had 12/12, take away 7/12. That would have left you with 5/12. Okay, you could have then done 11/12, take away 6/12 would have left you with 5. You could have done 10/12. Obviously take away 5. Oh, doesn't look like a 5, does it? And that would have equaled 5/12. You could have done 9/12, take away 4. You could have done 8, take away 3/12. 7, twelfths, take away 2 twelfths, and then the last one you could have done, I'll have to do it up here now, 6 twelfths, take away 1 12th, would have equaled 5 twelfths. And I'm trying to think if there are any others. It could have been, well, I suppose you could have done 5 twelfths, take away 0 twelfths, but that wouldn't have impressed me too much. And I think I might be wrong. Let me know if there are any others I have missed. Perhaps I have. But the thing that's the same with all of those possible calculations, that the difference is 5 in the numerators. Okay, so if you've done all of those, then amazing. Give yourself a tick for every single one. If not, it's fine if you've just done one. If it's right, amazing. You'll secure it then. So Gary made a huge flapjack and cut it into 12 equal parts. So we know that our denominator is 12. So we know to begin with, he had the whole thing, which was 12 out of 12 pieces. Okay. His brother ate 3 twelfths. So we need to take away 3, which would be 9 twelfths. So there'd have been 9 pieces left. But then his sister ate 2 twelfths. So then we need to take away another 2. Okay, which would have given us 7 twelfths. And then Gary ate another 3. So we would have then had 7 twelfths, take away what Gary ate, which was 3 twelfths, which would have left us with 4 twelfths. Okay, so your answer was 4 twelfths. So give yourself a tick if you've got the right answer. If you've also shown you're working out, give yourself another tick. Okay, well done. Right, today's learning then. Pinch punch first of the month. White Rabbit No Returns. It is Friday the 1st of May. Oh my goodness, how bonkers is that? Okay, and today we are looking at a bit of a mixture of adding and subtracting fractions. So I'm going to give you some more sort of problem solving things today. I'm going to look at how we can find missing numbers. We've done a little bit of that, so we're going to have a little bit more of a look at that, and looking for answers where there might be more than one. So yeah, we're going to have a little mix of adding and subtracting fractions. Okay, so pause me now so you can get that written down. Okay, so first thing then, let's have a quick practice. We've got 7 eighths. Take away how many eighths equal 3 eighths. So you don't have to write this in your book, just work it out in your head, say it out loud if you want to, and then I can say it. And 7 eighths take away 4 eighths will leave you with 3. Oh, sorry, I'm trying to get the red pen on. 7 eighths take away 4 eighths. Okay, we'll give you 3 eighths because 7 take away 4 equals 3. Okay, and our denominator stays the same. Okay, now here we don't know what the calculation was to begin with. However, we know that we are left with 4 ninths. So what I'm actually going to do is shade in 4 ninths. Now we know that that is what we were left with. Okay, what could we have started with and what could we have taken away to get 4 ninths? There's going to be more than one possibility. Okay, have a little think about it. What could we have taken away? What could we have started with, and then what could we have taken away? Okay, so we could have done 5 ninths. Take away 1 ninth. That would have given you 4 ninths. Okay, you could have done, so you could have had that one and then taken it away. You could have done 6 ninths, which should have been this. So it's 4, 5, 6. Okay, and you would have had to have taken away those 2. Could have done, if I pop another one on there just at the top so we can see, you could have done 4, 5, 6, 7 ninths. Take away those 3. Can you see a pattern here? To find these where there's possible answers, have a look at what's happening to my numerators here. 5. I'll just continue. We could have done another one here. So that would have been 8/9. Take away 4/9, because 8 take away 4 is 4. Or we could have had one whole amount. So 9/9 take away 5/9. That would have also equaled 4/9. So we could have had any one of those 5 possibilities, okay, to get that answer. So sometimes it's not just about getting one right answer, it's about being able to work around those numbers and really pull apart and understand the different possibilities it could be. Okay, ooh, give you a nice sneaky tricky one here. Okay, so firstly, let's just focus on what the answer is. We know what the answer is. It is 7/9. So we're going to finish up with 7/9. Okay, 7 out of 9 equal parts. Okay, that is the whole amount, and that's the total. Now to begin with, we've got 2/9, okay, and we are adding 1 what? Well, let's have a look at those denominators. Is that going to change at all? No. So we know that's going to be 1/9, okay? So 2/9 add 1/9. Well, what is that? I'm just going to put a little one up like that. We know that that equals 3/9, okay? And we add another amount of ninths to get 7/9. So what are we going to add to 3/9 to get 7/9? Hopefully you've all said 4/9. Well done if you have. Okay, now I've got it here as well, just to show you. Let me go on blue. So we start off with 2/9. 1, 2. We then added 1 more 9th. And then we weren't sure what to add next, but we know that we ended up with 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We knew that we were going to end up here. We knew that it was going to have to be 7/9. So we had to add this many more. 2, 3, 4/9. Okay. So sometimes drawing it out like that, just a nice simple bar with however many equal parts all together, sometimes that can help us work it out. Okay, so that was a really quick sort of run through practice-wise. Your questions here, that some of them are presented in a slightly different way. They're just to get you to really embed that understanding of adding and subtracting fractions. Okay, I still think you'll fly through this. So number 1, you've got a part-whole model there. I want you to complete it. You've got 3 fractions to add together. Okay, 2/12, 6/12, and 1/12. Number 2, I've put it into a word sentence for you. So 8/10. If I were you, I'd write it out as a calculation so you don't get mixed up. 8/10 subtract 2/10 equals 6/10. True or false? Is that right or wrong? Okay, so you can either write it out as a calculation and then say true at the end, or say false at the end. Number 3 says draw an image to match the statement. So if I were you, I would write that, for number 3, I'd write that statement. It says that 7/8 take away 6/8 equals 1/8. Could you draw a calculation for me to represent that? So if you're taking something away, if you think back to the first examples that we had, where we had a bar model, what's your total, what's your whole amounts, colour that in and then cross off however many you're taking away. You can do that. You can do it as a part-whole model, however you'd like to represent it. Number 4, we've got a bit of a missing numerator there. So we don't know what we started with, but when we took 4/6 away, we were left with 2/6. So how are you going to find that missing number? Number 5 is another true or false. 3/8 add 1/8 add 2/8 equals 7/8. Is that correct or not? And then number 6, you are missing a denominator and a numerator. Okay. So pause this now so you can have a go at your do it in your book, please. And then when you're ready, press play and I can talk you through your secure it. Okay, you'll secure it then. Giving you 2 problems. I think I've done that every day this week. You guys have been working hard. We've got two different securits for you to have a go at. Have a go at both if you want to. Have a go at just one, whatever takes your fancy. Depends how much you want to challenge yourself, really. If you've flown through it, then I suggest you do both. If you found it really easy, then really push yourself to check your understanding, and let me know how you get on. So the first one, finding the missing fraction. So 7, oh, I love these. Oh, these are so good. 7 sevenths. So think about what that is also. 7 out of all the 7 equal parts. Take away 3 sevenths is equal to 2 sevenths. Add how many sevenths? So what that is saying, I'm going to explain this one because we always get a bit caboozled. Bamboozled is the word I was after. We always get a bit bamboozled by these questions. So all that is saying is that calculation, the answer, whatever answer that is equal to, the same as, equivalent to, whatever the answer of this one is. So you're going to work out the answer to your first calculation. So 7 sevenths, take away 3 sevenths. What does that equal? Okay. Then 2 sevenths, add how many sevenths will equal the same answer. Okay. So the answer to this one is going to be the same answer to that one. All right, I've explained that really, hopefully, clearly. And then think about what you're going to have to do differently here to find that missing one. All right. Okay, so that's that first one. Once you've absolutely smashed that, because I know you will, you've got the one down the bottom. It says, how many fraction addition and subtractions can you make from this model? Now, don't let that question confuse you. If I were you, I'd look at it and think, okay, well, what's my denominator firstly? How many equal parts are there altogether? Now, work out what fraction's being represented. Now, either you can give me a calculation that equals what's being represented. You could do that representation as your whole amount and you take something away from it. Just what calculations can you create from that model? All right. The only thing that needs to be, well, other than the calculations you do and you give me the answers, as long as the answers are correct and as long as you've got your denominator right, I don't know how you can go wrong with that. All right. Just have a go at it. Draw it out in your book if you like, using a ruler. Well done, guys. You've worked really, really hard this week. Okay. Give this last one a real good go and I will check these answers with you on Monday. I'm just going to get rid of my scribbles on here for you so you can see that a bit better. If you want them back on, obviously just rewind it a bit and pause it. So have a really good go, guys. You are amazing. You've been working super hard. Thank you so much for all your hard work. Keep sending me what you're up to. And have a wonderful weekend. That's if you're doing this on the Friday still. If not, don't worry. Okay, have a great weekend, guys. Bye.
Morning everybody, welcome to your writing session for today. It's Friday the 1st of May, so we're going to start like we always do with that speech spotter this week. Remember, we're focusing on verbs and nouns and adjectives and adverbs. You're going to write out these sentences for me and you're going to label the noun, the adjective, the verb and the adverb in each sentence. We've been doing this all week, so hopefully this is something you're really familiar with by the time you get to this point. Our first sentence is Reggie found colourful trainers at the sports store. And our second sentence today is Lucy and Benji played nicely with the friendly puppy. See if you can spot the nouns, the adjectives, the verbs and the adverbs in each sentence. Pause the video, write them down and then come back to me for the answers. Good luck, guys. Okay, I wonder if you spotted them. I filled them with nouns, verbs, adjectives and adverbs today. So hopefully you found loads and loads of them. So first sentence, Reggie found colourful trainers at the sports store. The names of the things, the nouns are Reggie and trainers and sports store being one of those noun phrases that we talked about a little bit about yesterday. Okay, what did it happen in the sentence? What was the action? He found some trainers. So our verb is found. What did the trainers look like? Our adjective, therefore, is colourful. Okay, so hopefully you did really well with that one. Let's have a look at the second one. Lucy and Benji played nicely with the friendly puppy. So again, we've got 3 nouns in the sentence. We've got 2 names of people, proper nouns, Lucy and Benji. And then we've got the name here of the dog, so there's a puppy involved as well. What were they doing? Our verb in the sentence was played. Okay, how did they play? Our adverb, nicely. And are we describing something here? We're describing the puppy, so it's friendly. Now, I wonder how many people actually looked at this, saw the ly on the end and put it down as an adverb, but it's actually describing the noun in this sentence. It's describing the puppy, so it's an adjective in this sentence, not a noun. But it could say Lucy and Benji played friendly, and that would make it an adverb. So it depends where in the sentence and what it's being used to describe. But that was a bit of a tricky one, so well done if you managed to catch that the friendly puppy, the friendly was an adjective in that sentence. Well done. So today, as part of our learning, we are finishing off our story. So we wrote our introductions on Wednesday. We wrote a main body of our stories yesterday. And we're now focusing on that story ending. So what I'd like you to do while I'm just reading out the story ending to you is to have a little think for me. As a reader, are you satisfied with this ending? Are you happy that it's finished, all the loose ends are tied up, and the right thing has happened? And then I want you to think about why you might feel that way. Okay, so let's read the end of Fantastic Mr. Fox. Outside the fox's hole, Boggis and Bunce and Bean sat beside their tents with their guns on their laps. It was beginning to rain. Water was trickling down the necks of the three men and into their shoes. "He won't stay down there much longer," Boggis said. "The brute must be famished," Bunce said. The cheering that followed this speech went on for many minutes. Okay, so thinking about that, are you satisfied with that ending as a reader? Okay, why do you think you're satisfied with that as the ending? Okay, I'm satisfied with it as an ending, mostly because the mean farmers, the farmers who have been our villains all the way through this story, one, they're a little bit foolish. They're sat out there in the rain while the animals are partying here underneath, look, which makes me feel happy because these have won and these have not. One thing that really stood out to me when I was thinking about whether I was satisfied with this was how miserable the farmers must have been when it says water was trickling down the necks of the three men and into their shoes. It sounds like a horrible place for them to be while the others are having a party underneath. So it's really important as a reader that we tie up all those loose ends and we make sure our heroes win the day and our villains are left feeling a little bit silly, which is exactly what we're going to try and do in our own adventure story endings today. So far we've written and told the story so far. So we've met our characters, my lark and Mrs. Bates the farmer, and we've gone through the farmer's field, the cornfields and the berry bushes. We've set the trap with the scarecrow, that didn't work. We've set a trap with a net on the bush, that didn't work. And we've got to the point in my story where the net's on the tree and the children are hungry. So today we're focusing on writing this last section, this yellow section down here. And we're going to thinking about how the hero can win the day and make that villain, Mrs. Bates in my story, look a little bit foolish. So we're going to have a go at writing this together. And then we're going to have a go at you writing yours. So let's have a start of writing this one. Okay, so here we are with some writing. So I've started it off with where we were at the end of the previous section. So the larks, bored, hungry and sad, were feeling terribly, one of our adverbs, glum. What can I put next? The larks, bored, hungry and sad, were feeling terribly glum. Okay, so, I'm going to delete that and say when suddenly, because it starts some excitement for my reader, Mr. Lark had a brilliantly fantastic idea. I'm going to put an exclamation mark because it was an absolutely brilliant idea and I wanted that to stand out for the reader. Had a brilliantly fantastic idea. If only the larks could peck their way through the net, then they would be able to eat again and wouldn't feel so hungry. Okay, brilliant. So now I need to get them to nibble and peck their way through. So I'm going to start a new paragraph here because I've started a new activity. So together, the larks, the lark family, and I'm going to try and do a list because I think that will make it sound more exciting. Nibbled, pecked and clawed at the strong net until they made a tiny little hole. Okay? From the hole, the littlest lark wiggled through to the other side of the net. He was free. Okay, so let's have a little read through and see if that works as the starting point to my ending of my story. So I've got my family and we've just made the peck, the little hole, and we're going to make that hole a bit bigger, and then I'm going to go on to Mr. Lark sneaking out in the night times. But let's see if this bit works first. So the larks, bored, hungry and sad, were feeling terribly glum when suddenly Mr. Lark had a brilliantly fantastic idea. If only the larks could peck their way through the net, then they wouldn't be able to eat again and they wouldn't feel so hungry. Oh, I don't think I like that bit. If only the larks could peck their way through the net, then they, I'm going to put, would never go hungry again. Hungry again. Together, the lark family nibbled, picked and clawed at the strong net until they made a tiny little hole. From the little hole, the littlest lark wiggled through to the other side of the net. He was free. Yeah, I quite like that. So I'm going to leave it there. I'm going to go on to next how at night time they made the hole bigger, and then so I might put something like by night time the hole was big enough for the entire lark family to slip out from under the tree unnoticed. Okay, right, I'm going to leave it there then. Okay, so back to your story today. We've already talked about what my story is going to go like, but you need to go back to your plan and have a think about what your story is going to look like now, because you're going to do that last part of the paragraph. So your challenge today is first of all to reread your story so far. Make sure that it all makes sense and it links well together, so the bits that you wrote on Wednesday and on Thursday all make sense as one. Make any changes that you need so that it really enthralls and engages that reader, so that you've got all of those skills in place, and then write your final paragraph. So everybody's going to be writing that final bit today. It's important that the reader is happy with your ending. Remember, you tie up all those loose ends and that villain's left feeling a little foolish. If you want that extra challenge, remember to think about the author tricks and tips that you can use to really enthrall the reader and make sure your reader enjoyed reading your story. So we're going to pause now so you can write your final paragraph. Doesn't need to be very long, maybe 5-6 sentences at most. Okay, and then come back to me so we can go through it. Okay, brilliant. I hope you really enjoyed writing the end of your paragraph. I hope you've got a really satisfying ending and your reader's really happy with that. But if you do want to double check, make sure that you read that story from start to finish now, all of the parts that we've done. Did you enjoy your story? Did somebody else enjoy your story if someone else is available to read it? Which parts did they really like? What engaged them? And why do you think they might have been engaged with it? Just how you can have a little think before you send it through. Okay, if you have written one of those stories this week, we'd love to hear from you. You can take a photograph of it. If you've typed it up, brilliant. If it's you talking through and explaining your story and video it, that's great. Anything that you've got that you want to share with us, you are more than welcome to, but you don't have to. Our email addresses for Miss Cunnington is year3@redbrookhayes.staffs.sch.uk, and for Miss Foster it's year4@redbrookhayes.staffs.sch.uk, and I know they'd be really, really super excited to see your stories this week. Okay, so final lesson for this week then is our connected curriculum session. This is the last one on the water cycle, so if you haven't done anything yet, this might be the day that you want to have a little look at it. Remember, there's that essential activity with the videos on that you can find out just about the water cycle. It's just a watch and a read and a listen one, so if you want to do something a little bit, then that's the one to do. And if you're really excited by the water cycle and you want to find out more or show us what you learnt, then by all means have a look at the challenges within your work pack. And that will give you all the information on the science experiment, the poster activity, the imagining you're a water droplet and the video activity are all explained in your work pack. So by all means, go and have a go and see what you can come up with. We're really excited to see how you've got on this week, and then we've got another Connected Curriculum Challenge coming for you for next week. Have a wonderful, wonderful end of the day. Enjoy your weekend, and we'll be back on Monday with more learning for you. Bye, guys.